Hello, my name is Marcus Ruiz Evans, founder of CalExit and current CEO of the Yes California CalExit campaign, the movement for California to secede. Well, recently we had a bump. There's a topic of national divorce trending in the news right now, and Cenk Uygur, a well-known political commentator known here extensively in California, has talked about it. Recently, on October 1st, this is what Cenk Uygur had to say. Over half of Trump voters and 41% of Biden voters think it might be time to secede from the union. Here's one reason why that's a disastrous idea. Sorry. Imagine how brutal Trumpland would be to minorities. They would have no check on their white supremacy and dictatorial tendencies. That's from Mr. Uygur of the Young Turks show. He was speaking about the fact that there's a new poll showing support for secession at 52% for Trump voters and 41% for Biden. His point was that if blue states left America, the entire country would turn deep red, and an enlightened time of good governance for the protection and concerns of brown-skinned people would be permanently over in America. Well, let's take a look at how effective the non-white supremacist America with left involvement has been at stopping all these racist things. First, let's consider that under Barack Obama, there was almost no reform for the protection of young African Americans from the police. In fact, the Black Lives Matter movement started after Obama's second term because African Americans were realizing that their chance of having power and changing the infrastructure was leaving and going out the door. And they were terrified that the most important issue to them was not actually going to be dealt with. And that's why BLM started after Obama was coming out of office and had most of its success when he was out, because he didn't do anything to fix this. It was also during the time of Barack Obama that the Supreme Court, with a Latina on the panel, said that it was legally acceptable for governments to racially profile brown-skinned people in the state of Arizona and other southwestern states. Obama did nothing to stop this because the Supreme Court said, yes, you can racially profile Mexicans. It was also during the time of Obama that he invented the policy of placing Latin children in cages without access to showers or reporters or other facilities that you need to live properly. And in fact, they were put in cages and separated from their parents. That started under Obama. Additionally, under Obama, there was many instances of border guards raping the children and a tolerance for a culture of rape in the border immigration system. Obama did absolutely nothing about that. And what that did was mushroom into a field where you had border guards during the presidency of Donald Trump creating cartoons about raping a sitting member of Congress. That started under Obama and was because of his lack of action as a progressive and a minority. Now we can move to when Obama was out of office and Donald Trump was president. There was something called the resist movement. It was basically the idea that the left could stop all of the horrible policies of Donald Trump through using the system. Here are some of the things that the resist movement completely failed to do to stop Trump and stop his white supremacy agenda while still being involved in American politics. America failed to prevent discrimination against women and minorities and ensure that women and minorities have the tools they need to fight against discrimination and sexual abuse at work. Quote, the Supreme Court basically barred workers nationwide from launching class action lawsuits against employers. The class action, on the other hand, is one of the key legal mechanisms workers have to raise their collective voices on issues of wage theft and discrimination and sexual harassment. That was removed by the Supreme Court during the time of Trump. The left was not able to stop that. Here's another thing the left was not able to stop. America failed to prevent discrimination against minorities through violence. Police officers, quote, police officers can barge into a house without a warrant or without announcing themselves and shoot someone if they feel for their life when they pull the trigger. That's what the Supreme Court ruled on Tuesday when all 8 justices agreed to strike down the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals provocation doctrine, the only court rule in the country that sought to hold cops accountable for their actions leading up to the excessive use of violence against minorities. Quote, minorities make up 37.4% of the general population in the U.S. and 46.6% of all armed and unarmed victims. Sorry. But they made up 62.7% of all unarmed people killed by the police. Now, there will be nothing to stop the police from not being held to account for that. And that happened during the time of Trump, and the left was not able to stop that. Also, the left failed to prevent discrimination against the LGBTQ during the time of Trump and participating in the resist movement. Quote, the Supreme Court ruled on Monday in favor of Christian Baker in Colorado who refused to make a custom cake for same-sex couples. But that's not all. Quote, the Supreme Court will allow Donald Trump's partial ban on transgender people serving in the military to take effect, while court challenges continue. Responding to Justice Department requests, the High Court Tuesday cleared away lower court actions that blocked the controversial policy. They also failed to stop the racist border wall under Donald Trump. California is joined by Nevada, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, and Virginia, and it still lost. The Supreme Court on Friday handed President Donald Trump a victory by letting his administration redirect $2.5 billion in money approved by Congress from the Pentagon to help build his promised border wall. Another example, quote, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday rebuffed a challenge by 3 conservation groups to the authority of President Donald J. Trump's administration to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. The justices declined to hear the group's appeal of a ruling by a federal judge in California rejecting their claim that the administration had pursued border wall projects without complying with the applicable environmental laws. Twice they couldn't stop the wall. But here's another thing the resist movement failed. They failed to stop the Trump policy against immigrants. Quote, the American Supreme Court said that a partial ban that only listed 6 mainly Muslim countries could go forward. The ban is not as strong as it was initially proposed and includes fewer countries, but it still bans people from a large number of mostly Muslim countries from being able to freely travel to any part of America. The News considered this a partial victory for the Trump administration. Another one, they also failed to protect immigrants through the normal asylum requesting process. Quote, the Supreme Court on Wednesday granted a request by President Trump to fully enforce a new rule that would curtail asylum applications by immigrants at the U.S.-Mexico line, a key element of his hardline immigration policies. The court said the rule, which requires most immigrants who want asylum to first seek safe haven in a third country through which they travel on their way to the United States, could go into effect as litigation challenging its legality continues. The rule would bar almost all immigrants for applying at asylum at the southern border. They also failed to protect undocumented immigrants. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Friday ruled in favor of the Trump administration's efforts to prioritize federal dollars for local policing to towns and cities that complied with certain immigration policies. That ruling said the Department of Justice was within its rights to withhold community-oriented policing services grants from sanctuary-declared cities and states over their refusal to work with federal immigration enforcement facilities. So California wanted to protect the undocumented with sanctuary cities, and it said, you can't withhold federal funds from us. And the federal court said, yes, they can, and Donald Trump can punish you for doing sanctuary cities. Let's take another example here. They also failed to protect undocumented immigrants. Now, the California government said that he would protect undocumented immigrants from harsh treatment by Trump, his racist and white nationalist policies. The federal government ruled against California and supported Donald Trump's ideas on how the undocumented could be reacted to. Quote, the Supreme Court on Tuesday endorsed the U.S. government's authority to detain immigrants awaiting deportation anytime, potentially even for years, after they have completed prison terms for criminal convictions, handing President Trump a victory as he pursues hardline immigration policies. They failed at protecting undocumented immigrants. The federal agents in charge of immigration enforcement arrested people a few years ago based upon racial profiling in multiple places throughout our residence here. There is nothing California can do about this because the Supreme Court said that it's completely fine. Quote, federal immigration officials who launched a big enforcement operation this week in Northern California objected to the actions being labeled as sweeps or raids, saying the government went after specific people and does not target aliens indiscriminately in what he called an instance of racial profiling. Quotes, they burst into View Park Automotive in southern Los Angeles, carrying semi-automatic weapons and wearing vests that simply said police. They didn't identify themselves or ask questions about the men's immigration status. They just rounded all of them up, everybody who looked Mexican. But Evans suggests that Mexicans and other Latinos are sometimes targeted for arrests based upon their race or ethnicity. The Center for Constitutional Rights Executive Director Vince Warren finds the court's decision to uphold the Show Me Your Papers provision of Arizona's immigration law during the Obama time, which allows police to demand proof of immigration status of anyone they stop or detain. It's very disappointing. The Supreme Court has legitimized reactionary state law ordinances that encourage widespread profiling of brown-skinned people. Another thing the resist movement failed to do. Well, California wanted to enact sanctuary cities, and they told businesses you cannot cooperate with the federal government in rounding up undocumented people. Well, it turns out they can't actually do that, and they can't actually force California businesses to not cooperate with the federal government, and so they couldn't actually protect undocumented people, although they said they could in a big way. Quote, California Attorney General Javier Becerra warned employers Thursday of legal repercussions if they assist federal immigration officials in an impending crackdown in the sanctuary state. A federal judge said temporarily barred a law that had required employees to restrict federal immigration officials' access to the workplace. The state could no longer compel businesses under the law known as AB 4000 to prevent immigration officials from accessing a workplace and employment records without first obtaining a search warrant or subpoena. So there were multiple instances when Barack Obama was president where racial minorities, Black people and Latinos, didn't get theirs. Also, let's not forget the Luis Cobell decision. The indigenous people were wiped out by the American government. And then their land was taken from them, and they didn't get access to it, and the American government, or white people, claimed ownership of the land. Luis Cobell was an indigenous person who sued the federal government. Barack Obama said, instead of the $250 billion that you deserve, we'll give you $300 million. And he called it a great day for justice. So, in fact, it was during the Obama administration that we saw Black people did not get police reform. Latin people were placed in cages on the border. Border guards were able to rape Latin people indiscriminately with no check. And indigenous people had 200 years of genocide held up and told, tough, you get basically nothing for it. That's all under Obama. Then we look underneath Donald Trump, and there was a lot of talk about how you're going to prevent all of his racist policies. And we showed you that they weren't actually able to stop his racist policies against immigrants, undocumented people, the border wall, LGBTQ, and Muslims. Now let's take a look at Biden. Biden has kept kids in cages without showers, access to reporters, and in concentrated conditions. Biden has allowed the limits on refugees under Trump to continue before he was demanded to shut that down. Biden yelled also at the top Black leaders on civil rights the first week of his term in a leaked audio from a Zoom conference and said to hell with them if they didn't like the racist man that he was going to appoint, who he did appoint. Biden also said that Trump was a xenophobic racist who hated American tradition of acceptance of immigration, and then, when president, told immigrants from Latin America not to come. He also shipped all of the Haitians who came to America back to their failed nation, the complete and total opposite of what he claimed while running. Biden also could not get the pronunciation of his top Latino staff member, Becerra, correct, and his wife could not actually pronounce si se puede correctly. So, Cenk Uygur, what enlightened time are you speaking about? Because minorities are losing power in real time because of the laws of America and the legal structure, which has no signs of changing. Perhaps the Democrats can stack the Supreme Court, something that has never been done, was called unconstitutional when it was tried in the 1930s, was condemned as illegal under the last Supreme Court judge, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Maybe they can't. The other thing, Cenk, is that why aren't you mentioning all the racist stuff that happened under Obama? And why aren't you mentioning how the left failed to stop all the racist policies under Trump? And why aren't you mentioning the continuation of racism under Biden that mirrors Donald Trump's policies exactly? And fourth, Cenk, why aren't you mentioning that if red states are so god-awful for minorities, why are Black people moving to Georgia in record numbers and Latinos moving to Texas in record numbers? Those are red states. They've passed laws on abortion, receding against progress. They've removed voting rights for minorities, and yet Georgia is crawling with Black people and more are going. And Texas is crawling with Latin people and even more are going. They're thoroughly red states. They discriminate against minorities. They discriminate against progressive values, and yet they are exploding in population with minorities moving there. If red states were so awful and minorities agreed with that, why are minorities moving there? And if America's so enlightened, how come you didn't mention all the racist things that have happened under the last 3 administrations? And finally, Cenk, how come you totally forgot that you've actually endorsed the idea of California secession in multiple interviews you've done, especially, I think, one with Richard Kreitner? Interesting. We wanted to make sure that all the facts, when we're talking about how bad a future America without California left would be, are given to you, the public, because it seems the news is highly selective of the truth these days. And we at Yes California simply put, won't tolerate it at all.